Well, good evening, everybody. It's 7 o'clock, and I'm going to go ahead and get started. I know we have some people still hopping on, but I like to stay on time so that I can get everybody back to their lives this evening. I'm Kathy Chiero. I see a lot of familiar names and faces, and I want to welcome you to another of our Zoom seminars. And this one is of particular interest because we've just come off an election where we have elected a new president, and always that brings a little bit of uncertainty financially. So what I've done tonight is I've put together a great group of partners that I've known for years, all of whom have expertise in areas that matter to you. So before we get started, I want to lay a couple ground rules, and then I'm going to introduce you to who we're going to be hearing from tonight, and then we're going to get started. Um, we have, first of all, I would ask you to mute yourselves if you haven't already. If you would mute, and I can also do it on my end. Hold on, I'm going to mute some of you. Okay, ask you to stay on mute. If those of you who are familiar with Zoom know that down at the bottom there is, or you can look for a little tool that says chat. What we're going to ask you to do while we're going through the seminar tonight, if you have questions, general questions, if you have questions for any of our presenters tonight, if you would put your question, just type it into chat. I can see it on my end. Brandon's going to be joining us here in a minute. He's going to watch for it as well. But what we're going to do is we're going to save all those questions for the end. We will answer them, but we're going to save them for the end because the question may be answered while we're in the presentations themselves. Our first speaker tonight, many of you are familiar with Cory. If you have been to our Downsize Columbus seminars, you know that Cory Sickles is with us. So he's going to be talking tonight, talking about your investments. Also tonight we have Chad Kalerick is going to be with us tonight. Chad has a tax service, been in business for over 30 years. He's going to talk about, are there going to be any tax changes that you should be aware of under a new presidential administration? Also tonight, we are going to talk about interest rates. We had a lot of questions from people wanting to know what's going on with interest rates. Are we going to see them go up, go down? What is that going to mean to your buying power, or as well as those people who have interest in purchasing a home? So tonight we have Ryan Miracle. He's with Ruoff Mortgage. He's going to fill us in on what is likely to happen in 2025. And then I am going to fill you in at the end. We're going to talk about home sales.
I'll let you go.
What's
Yeah,
going to happen?
I'm
Hold on.
sorry. I'll call you back.
You're
All
fine.
right. All right.
All right.
You're
talk to
fine.
you
All right, let me get turned off. Yep, if you just entered the room, if you would please mute yourself, and we'll get going. So again, I'm going to be talking about home sales. What is going to be happening in 2025? Are we still in a seller's market? Will you still get multiple offers, all that sort of thing? So we have a packed schedule tonight, and I want to make sure everybody has time to talk. So let's start with Cory Sickles. Cory is the president of Safe Harbor Retirement Group. He's been in the business for over 20 years, serving Central Ohio. In addition to serving literally thousands of clients in his business, he also hosts Financially Tuned. It's a weekly radio show. He has his own podcast. You've also probably seen him on Daytime Columbus on Channel 4, and you can always find him on YouTube. He's done numerous videos offering just help and education for you. He has a bachelor's degree from Ohio University, a master's degree in information and communication sciences. He's married to Melissa. They live in Columbus. And so, Cory, welcome.
Thank you, Kathy. I'll go get this thing started here. First of all, I just want to thank everyone for, joining today. And, when you really think about the presidential election, The one thing that I'm actually glad of is all the commercials have ended. All those political commercials that are on all the time. And now we can kind of just focus on what's next after this. So what I really want to kind of do today is I want to give a couple things about what people thought about before the election even happened. The last 2 or 3 elections have been really emotional, and depending on what side you really are on, you can see here, 32% of the people believed if their side didn't win that we're going to go into a recession. 31% of the people believe that it's going to have an impact on their finances. And 31% of the people believe that you're going to see a tax increase as well. We'll talk about taxes a little bit later as well on this. And here's the one part that I really think is interesting is half of the people believe the election results is going to have a huge impact on their portfolio more than actually how the market performs. And that's kind of interesting. And one of the things that we really kind of want to do is try to go back and look at historical and really see how has the president really had an impact, on our finances or on our investments in the market. So here's one theory I think a lot of people think of, and that is basically this. When a new president comes in, you're going to see some type of predictable returns or patterns. Markets are lower during the first 2 years, higher during the second 2 years. Usually the third year they believe is the highest. And then during the election year, the returns are actually higher than the first 2 years in the market.
Hey,
And
Cory,
show you
real quick.
here-
Cory,
Yeah.
are you sharing something? Because we're not seeing it.
Oh, you're not?
No. Sorry to
Oh.
interrupt you, but
Oh, my
there
bad.
you go. Okay. Now we
Okay.
can. Very good.
Okay. All right. So if you look at the presidential election cycle, on average, the very first year, this goes back to, basically back to 1928. The first year, we see about a 6.7% return in the market. The second year, it averages about 3.3. So that is correct on historically, that the second year is the worst. The third year is about 13.5%. And then the fourth year is average about 7.5%. One thing to kind of look at, though, that I'll share is if you'll notice here is that during all those years, on an average basis, the market is up. I think that's actually key, which tells you that it really doesn't matter who's president. Long term, the market will go up. Now, let's kind of dive a little bit deeper. And then this is always a question, right? Well, who's better for the stock market, Republicans or Democrats? So going back from 1926 to 1922, who has had the best type of return? And it's actually our current situation, which is a Democratic president, a Republican House, and a Democratic Senate. It's actually averaged 15.94% per year. If you look at Biden's presidency right now, during his 3-year or 4 years of term, he's going to be pretty close unless something happens in the market as it goes down the next month. But he's going to have about a 15% return during his 4 years. So I think this is very interesting. I kind of highlighted the first one. What it looks like we're going to be at right now is a Republican president, and it looks like it's going to be a Republican House and Republican Senate. And if you notice, from going back to 1927, this has happened 13 years. It's actually averaged 14.52%. But even if you go down to the next one, you'll notice it's only around 14%. And again, the high one's about 15.94. So when you look at it, actually the worst is actually a Republican president, Republican House, and a Democratic Senate at 7.33. But majority of it's they're all kind of within line of each other, which tells me that at the end of the day, one thing that I really believe in is, politics and portfolios really don't go together. Don't let the emotion of who's actually president determine on how you're going to invest. So over time, the market has tended to go up. And this is a great slide. You can see all the blues. The obviously FDR has the biggest blue streak in there because he was in there for 3 terms, which actually changed. But you'll notice over time the market has gone drastically up. You can see the years. The blue is the Democratic, the red are the Republican years. And this is a very interesting one because one of the things I have people when I meet with my clients. Back in 2016 when Trump won, initially people were wanting to get out of the market. I was able to, say, hey, you don't want to do that. And obviously when Biden won, I had another set of my clients wanting to get out of the market because their candidate didn't win. And here's the point of it. If you actually go back to 1953 and invested $10,000, and if you only invested during the Republican years, your money would only be worth $83,000 today. If you actually would have only invested during the Democratic years, it'd only be worth $238,000. But if you would have just kept your money in the entire time, it'd be worth not $1.9 million. That's on a $10,000 investment. So all that really tells you is basically you don't want to leave any money on the table. You just want to stick to whatever your long-term plan is. And again, don't let politics dictate on how you actually invest within your portfolio. Here's another interesting slide going back to 1927. 73% of the time, the market has gone up. There's been 26 down years, which you can see on the red there. But if you'll notice, there's been 37 years where the market has performed 20% or better. And we're in that for the last 2 years within the market as well, just to kind of give you an idea there. What can impact the stock market? Obviously, the president is going to have an agenda that he's going to be able to try to pass. But there's so many things that affect the market. You can see in here, I really call this noise. Things happen at certain times. When Russia and Ukraine got into it, the market, everyone thought we were going to war, and you saw a 2-week, downturn within the market. And then the market kind of forgets and looks at our businesses making money. It's the same thing with Israel as well. The Israel and the war over there. So there's all kinds of noise. Obviously, the biggest impact, probably the last couple years that everyone's has really looked at, are interest rates and inflation. That's been in the news more than anything else. Things cost more than they did before COVID, right? Interest rates hopefully are now on the downside. And I'm sure, we're going to have someone talk about interest rates here in a few minutes, which has a big impact on a lot of things, but mainly it's about what are you out there purchasing? As interest rates go down, that's a positive sign for the market. But you can look at a lot of the different types of things that affect it, and not all those are affected by what the president does. The president only has so much power. Things have to be passed as well. I think with a Republican, if it's Republican all 3 ways, you might see more mergers and acquisitions. You might actually see they're really going to go after the inflation side of it, but you also might see some deregulation as well. And the market does like that. One of the questions that Kathy got before the meeting was Bitcoin. It's been in the news a lot. President Trump has been talking about it a lot. And you can see the pros of it, right? You might make a lot of money. It's an inflation hedge. There's a lot of liquidity with it. You're seeing more companies now starting talking about buying it. It's actually an ETF now, where you can actually go out and buy a portion of that within an ETF. But there's also a lot of cons. High volatility. It's about 3 times more riskier than the S&P 500. So you're going to see big fluctuations of it going up and down. Regulatory risk. There's really no rules on it right now. I think another big one is limited use of currency. Here's all I would say about Bitcoin. If you want to invest in Bitcoin, I consider that kind of like an alternative. I wouldn't recommend any more than someone's 5% of their liquid assets that you want to invest into for Bitcoin. And the other part of that I would probably recommend is you should also experience that you might lose about 50% of that money as well. So it's money that it could go up, but you also have to understand that there's going to be a lot of high volatility with that as well. So what can you do about the election if you're worried about it one way or the other? And I think the very first thing you have to really kind of do is take the emotion out of it. Don't let politics dictate on how you're going to actually prepare for retirement, or if you're in retirement, on how that money is going to grow for you during retirement. Take that emotions out. I think some of the best, I think one of the best things you can do is work with an advisor. I don't have any emotion in this. My job is to be able to make money for my clients, and it doesn't matter whether a Republican or a Democrat's in office or what laws change. My job is to be able to navigate all that so clients don't have to have any of that emotional feelings when of anything. Emotions do not allow us or allow our firm to be able to dictate on how we're going to invest. I think that's very important. The next thing is you kind of need to revisit your risk tolerance. We've had a good market the last 2 years, and if you've been in stocks, you've seen your portfolio grow, but that also means your risk level has grown unless you actually rebalanced it. So make sure that you're actually, if you're supposed to be a balanced investor and you want 50% of your money in stocks, then make sure that you're actually allocated to that. And of course, that's one of the things we do with our clients on an ongoing basis. Another one is review your timeline. Where are you? Are you in retirement? Are you retiring in 5 years, 1 year, or do you have, 10, 15 years before you want to retire? It's very important to be able to understand that. If you're wanting to retire next year, you don't want to actually have maybe a lot of your money in the market. The last thing you want to do is have your portfolio drop 20%. And then now you got to delay retirement because your net worth just dropped 20%. So that's very important to find out where you actually are today. And then here's the big one. I mean, we're going to talk about taxes a little bit later, but it's so important to have a tax strategy. Taxes are not going to go down. I firmly believe that. And anything they're going to go up long term, they're going to find ways to be able to increase taxes. That's why it's so important to be able to have other alternatives than just having all your money in your 401k or your IRAs. You want to have brokerage accounts. You want to have Roth IRA accounts. You want to maybe even have some life insurance cash balance. At the end of the day, you want to make sure you get some tax-free income. And unless you're working with a CPA and an advisor, you really don't have a tax strategy. Everyone always thinks I need to be diversified from an investment standpoint, but you truly need to be diversified from a tax strategy standpoint. So those are really the things that I would recommend that you would focus on now. Again, I would highly recommend don't let the politics drive on how you invest. Have a long-term plan and keep to it. Thank you, Kathy.
That's excellent. Thanks so much, Cory. That's exactly what I wanted from Cory tonight. And I love the way Cory talks, so very practical, but also just very common sense. Before we finish up here tonight, I'll be giving you Cory's contact information if you want to reach out to him and have just real quick, Cory, before I move on. People can meet with you one-on-one, right? I mean, they could just call and sit down. What do you offer them just to introduce them to what you can do and how you might be able to help them?
Really the first meeting is just to kind of find out what your goals are. All of our meetings are complimentary. There's no financial obligation. The first meeting, we're just going to gather the information, what you're trying to accomplish. The second meeting, we're going to present a proposal back to you, and then you can decide whether you want to, become a client or not of ours. But again, all meetings are complimentary. The first meeting's an hour. The second meeting's an hour. So it's 2 hours of your time to find out whether we're a good fit for you.
Okay, so before we're done here tonight, we'll give you some contact information for Cory. Our next speaker tonight is Chad Kolaric. He is the owner of Kolaric's Tax Service. He's been in business for over 30 years doing personal as well as business income taxes. And the great thing about Kolaric's is most of his business is grown word of mouth, just people hearing about him. He does a great job, has integrity, serves his clients well. And so I asked Chad to come on tonight because with a change in presidential administration, we know that both the Republicans and Democrats had a really big difference in what they plan to do with taxes moving forward. So Chad, if you will jump in, and I know you don't have a crystal ball, but if you can kind of help us understand what changes might be up the road for us, and if you would speak to what Cory addressed, which is having a tax strategy, whether it's going into 2025 or whatever year, as people grow older and go towards retirement, what's Cory talking about with a tax strategy? What should people be looking at?
All right. Well, thanks, Kathy. It's good to be here. Everyone, welcome. First of all, we're going into the 25 tax year, preparing 24 taxes. There's really no changes because we're still in current tax law right now. But going forward, what President Trump has talked about mostly is eliminating tax on Social Security, which I think would be a great benefit to a lot of elderly people. Personally, I think that's a very bad tax. He's talking about eliminating tax on tips and overtime pay, which would be very interesting. He's talking about eliminating the upper limit on income tax deductions on Schedule A. Property taxes, state and local taxes taken out of your paycheck. That's right now capped at 10 grand. I've seen that hurt a lot of people, especially higher earners, bigger homes, that sort of thing. If that is eliminated, that will decrease the amount of income exposed to taxes. What else do I got here? He's talking about making interest on a new car purchase deductible, which is something interesting. Right now, you can't do that. He's talking about reducing corporate tax rates from currently 21% down to 15%. That would make the U.S. much more competitive in the world markets, maybe bring some more manufacturing and jobs back to the U.S. instead of overseas somewhere. Primarily, I believe that because the Republicans control all aspects of the government right now, all tax law changes come out of the House of Representatives by the Ways and Means Committee. Then it has to be passed out of there. Then it has to go to the Senate to see what they want to do to it. And then if there's disagreements, then it goes back into a joint session where they iron out differences. And then if it passes all of that, then it goes to the president for signage. So President Trump, he can say everything he wants to say, but it doesn't matter. He's just giving Congress an idea of what he wants to accomplish. But all tax law changes comes out of the House and gets reconciled that way. Primarily, though, I think the number one thing they need to do is extend the current tax cuts that are due to expire starting in a 25 tax year. That would be the 20% exclusion on profits from a pass-through entity, those kinds of things that are big tax savings for a lot of people. And then going with a tax strategy going into retirement, I agree with Cory. Your portfolio needs to be diversified into, tax deferred stuff, tax-free growth, that sort of thing. I wish I knew everything that Congress is going to do, but obviously I don't. But I think there's going to be a big chance of tax rates actually going down, shrinking the brackets, meaning there's going to be less tax brackets and maybe higher income thresholds. So more money is taxed at a lower rate. So
Okay.
That's what I have. Just if I had a crystal ball, I'd be worth $20 million. But
Chad, let me ask you this. I'll ask you what I asked Cory. We have some people on tonight that maybe want a second opinion, want maybe a first opinion on what they need to do to adjust to either new tax laws or kind of getting their affairs in order. What do they do? Just contact you? Can they come meet with you?
yeah,
Are you taking new clients? I guess.
Yes, always looking for new clients. Just call the office. A lot like Cory, the first couple meetings are free. You'd bring in your tax returns. Let me take a look at them to see if there's any potential tax savings that may have been missed. Seeing what you're currently invested in, where the money's coming from. I can make suggestions on what to do. And then if it's all in portfolios or something like that, you would need to get with your advisor to make those changes. Or if the advisor would want to call me, we can talk about it. This is what I think. What do you think? And come to some kind of agreement that way.
Okay. Again, before we sign off tonight, we'll be giving you all the contact information for our speakers. We will also follow up with all of you with an email with that contact information as well. Next up is Ryan Miracle with Ruoff Mortgage. And Ryan, bunch of questions about what's going on with these crazy interest rates and all of that. Ryan's from Ohio. He went to Ohio Northern Universities, raising his family here. He's been in the mortgage business a long time, even back when 2008, when nobody wanted to be in the mortgage business. He was there. Close to 4,000 people he's helped get into a home by providing mortgage advice and getting loans for them. And so, Ryan, I'm going to hand it over to you and tell us what's going on and what 2025 looks like as far as interest rates are going.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Are you guys able to hear me and see me okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right, good. So once again, I'm going to be presenting from my iPad here. So if you can't see me, you can go up to the top right and hit pin and it's speaker instead of gallery, and you're going to be able to see me in live. All right. So really what I'm going to be covering tonight is a couple of things. So let me get myself up here so I can see myself. All right. So we're going to be covering why do mortgage rates change? We're going to be covering what are tariffs, because we've been hearing a lot about that in the news here recently. Can the president change rates directly despite any promises that they make? And then lastly, what does this mean for home buyers? And then we're going to wrap up pretty quickly after that. All right. So one of the biggest, and by the way, by the end of this, you're going to be able to easily say that you know more than probably 90% of the people that are in real estate and do this every day. So we're going to really simplify this to make you guys more pros than the people that get paid to do this. All right, so with interest rates, there's, like Cory said, there's only going to be a couple strings that get pulled in order to have any marketed change happen. So the first one is job growth. So with job growth, that is going to be really the thing that really drives the up and down for rates every day. So over the last couple of years, and once again, taking politics out of it, we're learning that a lot of the job numbers that we have seen have been incorrect. So we're seeing job reports come out, everything's sunny, and then they get kind of reversed a couple months later and no one really notices it. So job growth numbers that come out every so often are going to be a big indicator on how the market reacts. Another key indicator is inflation. So inflation reports are going to be released by the Fed. And once again, everyone kind of holds their breath to see if the Fed is going to be doing rate cuts. So let's kind of stop there for a second. So the Fed does not have a direct impact on interest rates. The general economy does. And when it comes down to it, this is kind of a simple rule that when I'm talking to my customers is that when, let me see if I get my pen going here, that when the stock market goes up, rates go up. When the stock market goes down, rates are going to come down. So like Cory said, we've seen kind of an uptick in the market over the last couple of years, months, weeks. So we've also seen interest rates go up as well. And inversely, when COVID happened and the market just kind of shut down, we saw rates crash. And we also saw this in 2008 with that financial crash. And we also saw this during 9/11 too. So we can basically say that there's a loose string tied to whatever direction the market's going, rates will likely go that way as well. So next on it is tariffs. So tariffs, once again, are an additional fee, an additional tax that's placed on goods that are coming into the country from out of the country. So you're going to hear that as a buzzword on either side here a lot. But as far as tariffs are concerned, there's really no direct tie to interest rates. Once again, it might affect the greater economy, but once again, there's no direct tie between tariffs and interest rates. So once again, I would not expect to see interest rates go down because of anything that the president does with tariffs. All right, and that kind of leads us to the big guy himself. Can the president directly affect interest rates? And the answer is no. So Jerome Powell was actually asked this earlier this week, where he, at the latest Fed meeting, someone asked him, does he worry about getting replaced by Trump? And basically what he said is no, because it's an appointed position, not necessarily an elected position. And Trump's the one that put him there in the first place. Now, he served 2 presidents, Trump directly, and then Biden, and he's going to be serving Trump again. So can the president directly change rates? No, that he can influence policy. I mean, even doesn't matter who's involved from their bully pulpit, the president cannot directly impact interest rate policy. The Fed can indirectly impact rate policy, but once again, it's a pulling a string on the greater economy, and then rates go up and down as a result from there. And then, so kind of lastly, what does this mean if you're looking to try to buy, sell, or refinance in 2025? So once again, if the market is going to be the greatest impact on what interest rates are, I kind of see this going 2 ways. And Cory and our other guests, feel free to jump in. I'd love to hear your opinion on this as well. So like Cory said, if we have stability in the market, what that's going to do is that's going to give investors confidence and consumer confidence, and the market is likely going to react from there. So if that happens and we see a positive trajectory for the greater economy, that, going back to our first slide, is probably going to pull rates up a little bit more. If we see that job numbers, for example, are going to be released, and now we are seeing the true economic data of what we're working with, that could pull the economy down. Therefore, we see a correction or a reversal in rates. Now, for builders, so I think we can all agree that there's not enough houses for sale. And really the only way to do that is for people to vacate their houses. And once again, we all kind of got those golden handcuffs as those low interest rates. So I don't think many people are going to be really motivated to list their house, given they already have a house that's paid off, or they have a 4% interest rate or a 3% interest rate. The other avenue to get more inventory, which is what we really need more than anything else, which will stabilize home prices and bring everything down, is we need more homes being built. Now, I used to work for a home builder long ago, and the way that they operate and they fund their operations is massive lines of credit. So like you and I might have a line of credit of $100,000, $200,000 on our house. However, these builders are working with hundreds of millions of dollars. So interest rates going up and down by the Fed, by the greater economy, really impacts their ability to be able to build more homes. So if rates go down, builders are going to be able to free up and renegotiate the terms on the loans that they have, therefore building more houses, therefore increasing their profitability. So with rates high, I don't see builders necessarily injecting a ton of new opportunity for new builds. They're going to keep the machine working, but they're not really crazy about what's going on right now. So my key takeaways is, once again, rates are going to be dependent upon the greater economy. The better the economy does, the higher or worse rates are going to be. So if we need to watch anything, watch the jobs report, inflation reports, and the bond market to kind of predict where they're going. This week, last week, since the election, it has been a serious zigzag every single day to kind of find out what's going to happen. I'm coming into the office not necessarily knowing what's going to happen that day. So if you're in contract, if you're shopping for a home right now, lock your interest rate immediately and hedge your bets against anything that could happen that would hurt you. And then once again, rates may not skyrocket, but I don't expect them to drop like a rock anyway. So with that, I yield my time.
Thanks, Ryan. Wow, lots of good information. As you can tell, Ryan knows his stuff. I'm going to talk about home sales now, but I want to kind of segue from something Ryan said because it ties into interest rates. Some of you, if you've heard home builders say that they are offering rates at 4.75 or 4.5, not to get too much in the weeds here, but that ties directly into what Ryan was saying. The reason a builder can do that, if you put your home on the market today, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, and the buyer wants to buy using Ryan as his mortgage loan officer. So only so much Ryan can do. The interest rate is what the interest rate is, unless the buyer wants to buy down that interest rate, meaning bring a chunk of money, give it to Ryan and say, I want to pay the interest on this loan up front and get a little bit of a lower rate. That can be done. Well, what we see builders doing is taking $20,000 and buying an interest rate from 6.8 down to 4.75. But who's paying that 20,000? You are. The price of their home just went up 20 grand. So the price of lowering that interest rate is built into the price of the home, which is something a builder can do, but you and I can't on our homes. We can't just throw 20,000 onto the price of our home because it has to appraise. So again, we're seeing builders, I call it the 1996 effect. It's what they did in the late 90s. They're getting creative to try to get that interest rate down, knowing that people buy homes the way they buy cars. They don't care so much about the price, they care about that monthly payment. So they're getting that interest rate down so that you'll get in the door, and it's made new builds really popular right now, and we're going to touch on that. So again, before I move on, want to tell you that Ryan with Ruoff Mortgage, we're going to give you his contact information if you want to look into purchasing, refinancing, anything like that. As you know, as you just saw, he knows his stuff. We'll make sure you have his contact information. Again, any questions, put them in chat. Brandon has joined us and he's watching the chat to make sure we can answer your questions at the end here. So I want to talk a little bit about home sales in general. Again, my name is Kathy Chiero. I've been in the business for almost 30 years now. I am the lead agent for the Kathy Chiero Group, developed Downsize Columbus. Many of you on tonight, I met you at Downsize Columbus. We're going to talk about your home sale or purchase in 2025 and what we are looking forward to. So what do you care about? Number one, has the market slowed down? Is it still a seller's market? Will I still get multiple offers and premium terms? Are home values going down? Has the cost of selling a home changed? And has the cost of buying a home changed? And all of this is Central Ohio specific. Everything I'm going to talk to you tonight is specific to our market. So let's start with, has the market slowed down? The answer is yes. We're not in 2019 anymore. If any of you sold a home, or had a neighbor buy or sell a home up through about 2019, 20, 21, and even coming into 22, it was business as usual to get 10 offers on every home. Homes were going out $50,000 over list price or more. Buyers were waiving everything, throwing in their firstborn child and a Tesla on the side to get your house. That is not happening anymore. However, so this is a yes and no. No, there is still a huge imbalance of supply and demand in Central Ohio. As of right before we went on tonight, in the Columbus MLS, which stands for Multiple Listing Service, we had 4,437 homes on the market. Now, that sounds like a lot. Our MLS covers Franklin County, 5 adjacent counties, and out even further than that. Sounds like a lot of houses, but what do we need? We need about 18,000 homes to meet demand for homes. So that number, 4,437, is higher than it's been in that period of 2019 and those very, very hot years. We had less than 3,000 homes on the market. So that's inching up a little, but it still falls far short of what we need to meet supply and demand. So what changed between 2019 and today, or really up to 2021 today? Well, interest rates went up, and we've all watched that. They doubled in a 6-week period in the spring of 2022, unprecedented. Believe it or not, that's been 2 years ago. So we all got sucker punched in the spring of 2022, and what happened is we lost all of our 3% buyers. They just got out of the market. They could no longer afford to buy a home. So and quite frankly, that's the reason we were getting 10 and 15 offers on homes, is because there was a huge number of buyers who were able to buy simply because interest rates were 3%. Well, those buyers have left the market. So now what we're left with are the people who can still afford homes at that higher interest rate, and again, the reality is home sales never stop. There's always people who need to sell and always people who need to buy. So what we're seeing is a shortage. We have a supply and demand issue. We just have fewer buyers. But remember, we didn't need 15 buyers for every home. We only needed one buyer for every home. So we still have a fairly strong seller's market. We just don't have the hordes of buyers coming. We're not seeing the 10 and 15 offers on every home. A lot of that is calmed down, and we're going to talk about that. So is it still a seller's market? The answer is yes, no, sometimes maybe. I'm going to have you put a lot of confidence in me. The truth is, it's not sometimes, and it's maybe with a lot of different factors. I'm going to take a literal page from my listing presentation that I do at your dining room tables, and let's talk about that. First of all, if your home falls under $400,000 in Central Ohio, that is considered first-time home buyer price range. And believe it or not, I mean, 100,000 used to be first-time home buyer. Now it's 400,000 and below is first-time home buyer price range. So in that price range, there are more buyers than there are homes. It just makes sense that the less expensive the home, the more buyers there are for it. However, that buyer is more cautious. They're often first-time home buyers. They're now unwilling to stretch. In other words, back 3 or 4 years ago, they would throw an offer 20 or 30,000 over list price on your home because it was 3% money. Now that it's 7% money, they are not as willing to do that. If they are in a competitive situation, they might give you an extra $5,000, but those wonderful wild, wild west days of 20,000 over list are largely gone. They're unwilling to stretch. They want to negotiate. In other words, they're not as willing to give the seller everything they want. And here is critical, they are more likely to change their mind. We are seeing more cold feet than we have seen in all of the years coming up to this. And I really believe it's because when it was that hyper seller's market, if you were a buyer and you won, you white knuckled it. I mean, you held on because you knew you beat out 10 people to get that house. Now I truly see this where buyers are a little bit shocked that they won because they're so used to hearing from people that it was very competitive that when they get a house, they start thinking, oh my gosh, what did I do wrong? Maybe I overpaid. Should I have bought this home? And we are seeing more and more, especially younger buyers, back out of transactions, usually during the home inspection is what they do. So I won't go into it here, but that's the reason we want a good buyer's agent on the other end. So if your home is under $400,000, you are in a seller's market. However, the price still matters. Let's look at the next one. Your home is worth $400,000 to $700,000. In many areas of Columbus, that's average now. New Albany, Dublin, Big Walnut Schools, Westerville, Gahanna. A lot of these suburbs, that's the average sale prices falling in that range. We're seeing somewhat equal supply and demand. We are seeing buyers again are more cautious. They're going to prefer that your home is updated. In 2018, you could have brass and green shag carpet and your dog could have pooped on the carpet and it didn't matter. They were going to fight over your home. Now it's starting to matter. We have what I call credit rich, cash poor buyers. They've gone to Ryan. They are credit rich. They have 2 jobs. They have good incomes. They qualify for high mortgages, but they have no cash. So they don't have the money to do the improvements. So if you have done the improvements to your home, they'll pay for them. They'll pay for them in the form of a higher sales price on your home. Now, does that mean if your home needs lots of improvements, you can't sell it? No, we just need to price it accordingly. We need to price it according to what the buyer feels they're reasonably going to need to do to your home. The other thing we're seeing for the first time in 10 years is sale of home contingencies. You know, I'm doing a training class in my office in a few weeks for all these agents who have no clue what a sale of home contingency is. We've not had them for 10 years. When you're in an environment of 10 or 15 offers on a home, you have a home to sell, you don't win. So now we're entering back into an era where people are writing sale of home contingencies. That's good news for some of you who have a home to sell, but it does mean as a homeowner, you need to be prepared for that. If you have a rather high-end home, we are seeing more and more people have sale of home contingencies. So if this is your price point, you are in a competitive market. But there is more competition and homes available in the higher price ranges. So again, the more expensive the home, the more choices the buyer has. We went through an era where literally I could run a $50,000 price range in any school system in Central Ohio, and maybe there would be 1 or 2 homes on the market. Now we're seeing 10 homes on the market, 12 homes on the market, 15 homes on the market. So we are seeing more and more homes on the market as the market softens a little bit. And you need a good agent who knows how to read the tea leaves for you to know where your home falls. And then this is the big guys, the 700,000 and up. This is where we see supply exceeds demand. Why? Because now you're competing with builders. Okay, the average cost of a new build home in Central Ohio is now topping $700,000. It is very difficult to build a home in Central Ohio for under $400,000. And that's if you go way south. If you're anywhere north of 270, you are not touching a new build for under 550. So it is very common that new builds are going into the 700,000 and 800,000. So if your home is in that price range, you're competing with the builder. And remember, the builder's going to throw that money on the top to buy the interest rate down. And you can't do that. So supply exceeds demand. The buyer has more options. You have competition with new builds. However, again, they will pay you if you do the improvements you have done. And again, they may have a home to sell or they may be relocating into the area. Now, what does your home offer that a new build can't? Well, first of all, you already have the deck and the patio and the blinds and the towel rods and the theater and the finished basement and the nice lot and mature trees. So again, there is a whole market of people who don't want new builds because they want a lot of those things finished. They don't want to wait a year, but they still would love it if your home was clean, move-in ready to go. And if I meet with you, I help you with that. We go through that with you to kind of tell you how we make your home very marketable and ready for that buyer. Now, will I still get multiple offers in premium terms? This is where the market has softened considerably. We have what I call the 5-day golden window. If your home gets an offer in the first 5 days on the market while it's still a new listing, there is a very good chance that you are not going to negotiate on anything. You're not going to negotiate the price or any other terms because at that early in the game, the buyer does not know if they are competing with anybody else. I tell my homeowners, we want 5 offers or 1 buyer thinking you have 5 offers. Either way, we're going to get the same thing. Okay, we're going to get a very competitive offer. And the only way we do that is by pricing your home right and getting that offer in the first 5-day, what I call the golden window for your home. So it matters. What you price your home at matters. There are 5 things you care about in our 14-page contract. The Columbus Board of Realtors uses a standard 14-page contract. If you are a homeowner tonight, there's only 5 things in that contract you care about. Number 1, the price. Number 2, type of financing. Number 3, home inspection. Number 4, will the home appraise? And number 5, closing and possession. If you get an offer in that first 5 days, you are not going to negotiate on price. You are going to get a solid pre-approved buyer. You're going to get a buyer who, if they do a home inspection, they are very likely still to waive the right to ask for repairs. At times, they're going to offer you money over appraised value if the home doesn't appraise, and they're going to look to you and say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, when would you like to close and how long do you need this home? After closing, we'll give that to you. We have 5 days to get all of that. If your home is still on the market in a week or 10 days, we have pushed your home into a buyer's market. You're going to negotiate on most of those things. So my goal as your agent is to price your home competitively so that buyers walk in. And as I said, we don't need multiple offers. We just need a buyer thinking you're getting multiple offers. And to get you a solid, good offer on your home. And it all comes down to price. One of you put into chat, something about, does price still matter? It absolutely matters. It is key to selling your home, getting premium terms, getting everything right. You have to price your home right. And here's what we're seeing a lot of right now. Remember I told you there were about 4,400 homes on the market right now? We have over 10,000 real estate agents. So even if all of us who had listings had only one house, we've got 5,500 agents out there that do not have a listing. The reality is the top 1% of agents in Central Ohio list 90% of the houses. So what we have a lot of is what I call one listing realtors. They go out, they list a house, they haven't listed a home yet in 2024, so they don't have their hands on the pulse of the market and they're overpricing homes. And then the homes sit there and the homeowner says to their agent, "What, my neighbor's home got 6 offers in 2 days, what's wrong? What are you doing wrong?" Just this week, I have a listing appointment with someone whose home is on the market. It's been out there, I think, about 3 weeks. They're already dumping their agent. What's wrong? Why isn't my home selling? Kathy, can you come meet with me? Well, yeah, I'll come meet with you and we'll lower the price $20,000 and we'll get your home sold. Because again, they are pricing based on old numbers and this market is very volatile. You have to have your pulse not on what happened last May, but what happened last week. That's what you have to be looking at. That's what we do for you. Are home values going down? You read a lot in the news that, oh my gosh, I shouldn't buy because I'm just going to wait. Home values are coming down. They are not coming down. We are still seeing 4.5% annual appreciation in Central Ohio. That is healthy appreciation. Anything over 3% is considered a seller's market. Now, some of you are remembering when homes were going up 12 and 15% a year. We don't have that, but any of you sitting on the fence because you think home values are going to go down, I do not see that happening. When we have 25% of the homes we need on the market to meet demand, we're going to see an annual appreciation of about 4 to 4.5% a year anywhere in Columbus, Ohio. What about the Intel effect? We have 52,000 employees coming into Central Ohio in 2025 to 2026. That's just the employees. That does not count spouses and families. So if you do the math, you're looking at an additional 150 to 200,000 people moving into Central Ohio in the next 2 years. Here's another interesting fact, is that a lot of people think, well, that's only going to affect Johnstown or the East Side, or that's only going to affect South where Google or Amazon's coming in. No, it is not. These people have been tested, they've been studied, they've been surveyed, and these people say many of them are coming from areas where they are accustomed to driving an hour and a half every day to get to work. And these people are saying, give us $130,000 a year as a salary, and we'll drive however far we have to drive to get to work. What we're seeing statistically is that, in fact, most do not want to live right in the heart of Intelville. They don't want to live right there. They don't want the traffic. They don't want the construction. They want just what most people want. They want good schools. They want a nice house. They want a pretty lot. And so they're willing to drive from Lancaster or Dublin or Zanesville or anywhere to get there. So again, when you put all that together, we are going to continue to have supply and demand issues in Central Ohio. We are going to continue to see our homes go up in value, and that will not change as long as we are what we call an emerging market. Central Ohio, Columbus, has never been on the emerging market list. Emerging market means what cities in the United States have more people moving in than moving out. We have never even been on the list, and this year we were number 3 on the list. So again, we are seeing an influx of homeowners. We're seeing an influx of families coming in. So what that means is the home you're sitting in right now has great value and will continue to see that go up. Has the cost of selling a home changed? Well, if you are a fan, you know I've done this class already. We're seeing huge changes in how realtors are getting paid. I'm not going to go into it tonight because I have a whole YouTube class on that. If you've not set in on one, go to YouTube and search Kathy Chiero's Realtors Commissions, and you'll see a class on how Realtors Commissions have changed and how that affects you, as well as the cost of selling your home. Has the cost of buying a home changed? Go to my class. Those realtor commissions affect you as well. If you are going to be buying a home, I'm telling you right now, you want to watch that class, because all the rules have changed on who pays for what, and how we end up getting paid for getting you in the door and negotiating a house for you. So at the end of the day, I am bullish on our housing market going into the spring. I am thinking we are going to have more homes on the market. We're going to have people saying, what the heck, interest rates are not going to be coming down great. I still need an extra bedroom, or I still tired of mowing the lawn, going to be selling my home. What I say to you tonight is, if you do have interest and you say, Kathy, I want to hear what's going on, my house, my neighborhood, my value, that's what I do all week long, is meet with you, no obligation, sit in your home, talk about your needs and your timing. So I have Brandon's number on there. He's also on tonight. You can just stick in the chat, hey, Brandon, set up a meeting for me, and I'll be happy to stop out there and meet with you and talk to you about your specific and unique need. So again, thank you. I hope this was helpful for you tonight. Anybody have questions? Brandon, do we have anything on the chat we need to address for Cory, Chad, Ryan, or myself? Do you have any questions? Put them in the chat and we'll answer them for you.
As of now, we're clear.
Okay. Once again, if you are, we have someone that says, what are sale contingencies? So let me address that very quickly. Home sale contingencies mean I want to buy your home, but I have to sell my home first. And so what you agree to as a homeowner is to give me a limited amount of time to get my home in contract so that I can then turn around and buy your home. During that period, your home is essentially off the market for anyone else who wants to buy it. So what it means is, where the risk is what if my home doesn't sell and you've taken your home off the market for me? What if my home takes a month to sell, and in the meantime, you've missed a month of buyers being able to look at your home? That's the reason there is risk involved. That's the reason for 10 years we were unable to do sale of home contingencies. It's because we had so many buyers for homes, there was always someone who did not have a home to sell. So we're entering back into an era where we have the ability to do a home sale contingency. Okay, before we hang up, once more, I want to go over, I want to share with you, here's Cory's information. If you want to, we'll also send this to you as an email. If you want to reach Cory at Safe Harbor Retirement Group, we've got his information there. If you want to reach Chad Kolaric, here you go. Here is Chad's information. And again, we'll email that to you, but that is Chad's contact information if you want to set up a meeting. And same with Ryan here. If you want to touch base with Ryan, here's his information. You can reach out to Ryan and talk about refinance or purchasing and let him put you on the right track. And all of you should be able to reach me because I sent you the email tonight. So just reach out to me. So anybody else have questions before we hang up? I thank Ryan and Chad and Cory. Thank you for your expertise tonight. You guys have gotten a wealth, a masterclass of information tonight, and it is our pleasure to bring it to you. I will be getting the recording and sending it out to everybody. So thank you everybody for being here tonight.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.